Bobby Broyles and Tim McDonald here.
Should be a really interesting matchup. Buckle up. If you're not watching, you got some problems.
Kickstarting our 12 teams in 12-day series presented by Geico. Welcome in. I'm Bobby Broyles. He's Tim McDonald. Today we open with a look at UAlbany. The Great Danes won just 3 games last season, Tim, but a lot of that can be attributed to plenty of youth up and down the roster.
It certainly can, and a number of players last year, whether they were redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores, were forced into starting roles early, which is obviously tough. You get through the schedule, look at UAlbany last year. Start out 2-2 through the month of September, then you lose 4 straight games, including 3 straight CAA games. Obviously, that was tough. But the good news is you have all these young guys having to play. You have an offense basically returns every starter. Yep. 11 starters returning, which is a rarity in college football, a rarity in CAA football. So you look at that tough start last year, I just think it comes down to, are we expecting improvement in UAlbany? Of course. But again, it's something that is going to, I guess, continually keep going for this team. So many guys back. It's as simple as the offensive line is back. Mm-hmm. The starting running back, Elijah Abediton-Hanks, is back. He was a true freshman last year. Sophomore Z. Robertson, he's back. Brad Harris. I mean, the top 3 receivers return. 7 of the team's total touchdowns receiving all are those top 3 receivers, including Anthony Manzo-Lewis, a tight end. All of them played 11 games. So you figure up and down this roster on offense. Of course, quarterback play is going to be huge, as it always is in CAA football. 2 guys who had a lot of experience last year, both DJ Crook and Nevin Sussman, played in all 10 games, 7 starts for Crook, 4 starts for Sussman. If you had to say, Tim, who's going to be the starter right now, I would have to pick DJ Crook. A little over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But again, I think the comfortability with this offense, the comfortability, it's the same guys lining up. Yep. It's going to progress for Albany, and slowly but surely, I think the Great Danes are getting there. Again, total offense 10th, rushing offense 9th, passing offense 10th. 15 points per game. So Albany, sir, a lot of guys played young, and a lot of guys had to be thrust into the fire early. But again, there's so many players back. Everyone's familiar with the system. I think you can only see improvement offensively for Albany.
Indeed. At Media Day, Coach Gattuso addressed the progression of his 2 young signal callers.
Yeah, we're having kids in the system for a period of time. We have to realize our quarterbacks last year were young. Neither one was in the system prior to last year. So it was very difficult to run the offense the way we would like to. So right now, they've been through a year. They've been through 2 spring practices. They've had all summer to prepare. We feel really good about where they're at mentally, which will allow us to be able to do more things on offense and utilize our skill and our experience in a better way.
Similar issues on the defensive side of the ball for UAlbany. A large amount of starters back, 8 in fact, for a unit that finished at the bottom of the conference in total defense last season. Still have to hang your hat on having that experience to keep building forward.
Yeah, I mean, throughout this 12 and 12 series, you're going to hear us talk a lot about, similar offense, similar defense. But it's true. You look at this Albany team, 8 starters back, as you mentioned. Again, a roster full of youth. Mm-hmm. Injuries hurt this team last year. You look at Michael Nicastro, a linebacker, who was injured at the opener in Buffalo. Season-ending injury. That's obviously a huge loss. He was an All-CAA performer the year before. Yep. I think he's going to be back and healthy from what we heard at Media Day. That should help. Obviously, the pass defense, Bob, is something that finished last in CAA. Only 18 sacks as a team, but again, you just point out guys on the roster. Julian Cox is back, the linebacker. Rayshawn Clark is back. Deshante Thompson is back. Neil Morrison, who we also saw at Media Day, is back. A lot of times when we talk at Media Day and we say, "Oh, are you guys excited for the season?" Sometimes it's the same answer, but with this team, it was almost very similar answers for offense and defense. Well, we have so many guys back. We have a lot of weapons. It's not like we're changing anything schematically. Mm-hmm. Albany's a team right now, pass defense 12th, total defense 12th, as we mentioned. I think, again, similar fashion. So many guys back on that defense. Yep. I think Michael Nicastro, that's going to be huge. Not only him being back, in a guy who's played a lot of football, as a leader, he's probably going to need to step up a little bit. Julian Cox as well. Those 2 back, I think, as the quarterbacks of that defense are going to tremendously help this unit. Again, it's just comfortability all up and down the board on defense with so many guys back.
Here again is Coach Gattuso on players he expects to step up this season on defense.
Well, getting Mike Nicastro back off an injury from the first game last year is really important to us. He's a strong leader. He's a great football player. He was all-conference 2 years ago. So getting him back is a big part of what we're doing. Malachi Hoskins is a defensive end that's now going into his 3rd year. We expect a big year out of him. I think some of Jamal Robinson and Rayshawn Clark, our corners, we feel really good about Mason Gray as a young safety. It's very talented. So we've added some people, we've gotten some people back, and I think we've kind of grown up on defense. And we need to make a big improvement. We've not been very good on defense.
The Great Danes went 3-8 in 2015, and Tim, you mentioned that 4-game stretch in October. That was telling. Looking ahead at the schedule in 2016, I see a critical 3-game homestand in mid to late September to get some momentum before hitting the heart of the conference schedule.
When you talk of teams like UAlbany, I think everyone realizes that UAlbany is still getting familiar with CAA football. It's still something that Gattuso might not be a first-year head coach, a new head coach, but they're still learning his system. So I think with this team moving forward, you look at a second straight year, it's a good thing to open up with an FBS opponent, in my opinion. Gets you ready to play the big boys. Second straight year, they're playing Buffalo. Then you play at Rhode Island, which is an early conference game. We've kind of gotten used to that UAlbany, Rhode Island early game.
Yep.
The 3-game stretch that you talked about that I think is the key is Holy Cross, St. Francis, and Richmond, all in order, all at home. Again, when you're a team that's struggling to start the season and say, we're going to go get 5 or 6, 7 wins this year, when you're a team who's struggling to pile up wins, playing at home is so much more helpful than going on the road, especially 3 straight weeks. I mean, honestly, besides Buffalo, besides Rhode Island, traveling isn't going to be the biggest problem. Easier said than done. At Maine, at Nova, and at New Hampshire are the final 3 road games for UAlbany on the schedule. But again, I think it's just something you talk with Coach Gattuso, and it's a guy we both know now on a personal level. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. He's obviously been a head coach before at Duquesne. He had a lot of success there. I think it's something you say, well, what are the steps that Albany needs to take? What needs to change? It's something that Coach Gattuso mentioned. He knew when he took this job 4 to 6 years of building. I think the question is the mentality. When we asked him straight up what's going to change, it's his players. Again, just getting used to that CAA football schedule, getting used to him as a head coach. And I think for UAlbany, it's that mentality as a program moving forward that's going to help them.
Well, as we just mentioned, the Great Danes open up on the road at MAC opponent Buffalo on Friday night, September the 2nd at 7 o'clock on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app.
And for more Great Dane coverage, you can check out our one-on-one interviews with linebacker Neil Morrison and offensive lineman Kevin Malloy now by visiting CAAfootball.com or just check out our social media platforms.
Tim and I are back at it again Tuesday analyzing the Blue Hens of Delaware, and we'll hear from fourth-year head coach Dave Brock. For now, I'm Bobby Broyles. Dad's Tim McDonald. Have a great rest of your day.